So this may not be as amusing to you as it is to me, but as some of you know, last week, after I'd done my Ni no Kuni review, I went to do my inspection here at work, and I just started talking about FF6 in my head, and basically reviewing it for an audience of one, myself. And as I was doing so, I basically became, well, inspired, for lack of a better way to put it. So, it's amusing to me thus that I had just finished my 3 reviews for today, and I went off to do my inspection finally, because it's way late in the night. I really should have gotten that done earlier today. And I just started doing it again, with FF6 again. And see, here's the thing. Here's the thought process. I just did a 4-video review of Suikoden 2, a game that's not even in my top 10. Although it's damn close, I'll admit. So, why did I only do 2 about FF6? Now, you could say that it was simplified enough to not require more talking about it, but the truth of the matter is I was just limiting myself more. When I was doing the Suikoden review, I went into it thinking, I'm going to talk until I'm done. And I only stopped doing that when I looked down and I saw 30 minutes on the record timer. So, moving on. There are 3 things that I really wanted to touch on in addition to my previous review for FF6. Now, I've talked about these at least in brevity, but they really I feel deserve more discussion. The first, tiny little bit of backstory, just to get the point across here. I have something of an issue, just kind of the way I am, where I don't really feel most of the time. I don't mean like this, although I do have some issues with tactile sensation, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about most of the time I just don't feel. I don't have a better way to put this. I'm heartless, or whatever you want to call it, if you want to be melodramatic about it, but in the down-to-earth sense of the word, most of the time I'm just a robot walking around doing my everyday thing, keeping up with appearances and all that. The reason this is relevant for me to state is because when I say something makes me feel, that's relevant. That's more relevant than it would otherwise be for a normal person. Something that makes me feel is automatically something that is greater or better or more deserving of attention or what have you than something else, if you follow me. So, believe me when I say that Final Fantasy VI made me feel. Just everything about that game. I mentioned in my review that I could pick up the game at any point in time and enjoy it just as much, right? Just to prove this theory, last night I pulled up my DS, which had my copy of FF6 for the GBA in it, and started playing it. And I saw that I had a couple save games set up. One was my completed save game that I never touched. It's just kind of a collector, old gamer thing. I like to have one save game that's done in any given game, and I just leave it there for showing off purposes or to know, hey, I did it. And I had one that was had just entered the world of Ruin, had just gotten the airship and all that. And I fired up that one, and the music and the scenery and just everything really got to me immediately, because it was so evocative. It was so indicative of what it was trying to accomplish as a baseline. I mean, you have to understand, the world of Ruin, the world has been reshaped. Continents have moved. Islands have been pushed up from the depths. People have died by the thousands. The plants and animals are dying off. The ecosystem is struggling. And Kefka's sitting on the tower blasting things for fun every now and again. And it's just this dreary, depressing world. You should hear the music for when you first enter the world of Ruin. It's just this slow, plodding... I can't think of the name of the instrument all of a sudden. A heavy piano, basically. Don, 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 don. And it's just... But the music that plays as soon as you get the airship is full of hope, is full of possibility, and that's the atmosphere that the world of Ruin gives in general. Is yes, the world is trashed. Yes, we're all doomed, but we're still trying. We're still fighting. We haven't given up. We have not gone quietly into that good night. We are still endeavoring. We are still clinging to that hope. And as we are doing it together, in keeping with the main theme of Final Fantasy VI, of togetherness, of friendship, of relationships, of interconnectivity, everyone doing it together makes everyone stronger as a whole. And that's why they can keep going at all in this ruined world. And I loved that. Oh my god, and that's just one thing. That's just one thing right now that I can name right now that I just experienced last night. The second thing I want to talk to is related to that. As you're aware, the main theme of the game, as I just said, and I said it as my previous review, is the internet connectivity, the closeness, the togetherness of all the people. This is relevant for one specific point that I don't think I mentioned properly in my last review. You see, every individual in the game has someone, right? Whether it be comrades, or co-workers, or fellow soldiers, or friends, or children, or grandparents, or adopted parents, whatever. Everyone has someone, and they're all connected with each other. That's the main theme of the story, as I mentioned. But there's one individual in the entire game who doesn't have anyone, and that is, of course, Ultros. No, I'm kidding. That's Kefka, the villain, is utterly alone in a game about being together, in a game about working together and standing strong with one another. Kefka is utterly alone. The only person he could have ever said to have had was Gestalt. He kicked Gestalt off of a floating continent to his death. For no reason. Because it's Kefka. Because he's a lunatic. And I shouldn't say for no reason, but you get the point. He is utterly alone. And he is the only one. He is completely solitary. He doesn't even have servants. He has monsters that have gathered on his domain that he doesn't care about. You know, he doesn't... Even Golbez, back in FF4, had his Fiends and Cain and his Calbrina, or Calbrinica. I forget which is the proper pronunciation of that. You know, most villains have someone, have something. Even Sephiroth wasn't completely alone, but Kefka was completely and utterly alone. And and that's really a subtle point that I didn't actually pick up on in my first dozen playthroughs of the game. It took me some time to really understand the impact of that and the significance of it. And that leads me rather beautifully into my next point. I'm going to go ahead and pause and split the video here because I don't feel like speaking for 2 minutes about this point, so pause.